Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports show. My name is Eric and I am the man behind Etoft21sports. We have an absolute banger of a show lined up for you today. At JLewis06, the host of the new podcast, which is debuting this Thursday, JNM, Let's Talk Sports, is going to come on. Him and I are going to break down the NFC East. I'm going to be telling you what fantasy football player to target that's going to be a league winner in the fourth round. And Gino is going to come on. He's going to tell you what bet to lock in for Saratoga. Let's see what Gino has in store for us today.
Time to dish out our best bet for Saratoga for Wednesday. Shout out to Eric and everyone watching Eric. He's one of the absolute best when it comes to gambling, to handicapping, to get you prepped for anything that you're going to be playing. For me, it's Wednesday Saratoga. We're going to look at race number 6, and we're going to take a look at the number 1, Amanda's Folly. Now, she debuted, and in her debut, she completely missed the break, and it really wasn't her fault. She had a brutal start. She got squeezed back right after the beginning, and she really had no shot after that tough beginning. She's going to put the blinkers on. That race has already come back live. The third place finisher came back to win a maiden special weight race next out. And I'm really interested with Amanda's Folly getting on the grass. She is bred for the turf. Her dam won on the turf. She's a half-sibling to a horse named Jai Solitude, who was a 3-time winner on the turf and was grade 3 placed. She's also a half to a horse named Ancient Secret, who was a 5-time winner on the turf, a grade 2 winner who won their first 4 starts. So the siblings have shown grass pedigree, precocity. She had some trouble in her debut. The blinkers are going on. Lots of things to like about the number 1, Amanda's Folly. If she's anything around 5-1 or over, we'll make a win wager. That's Wednesday, Saratoga, race number 6, the number 1, Amanda's Folly.
So tomorrow, race 6, the 1 horse. Make sure to lock that in. Also, breaking news, Gino's going to be on the podcast that comes out on Friday. Huge racing at Louisiana Downs. He's going to be telling you the bets to lock in for their biggest day of racing on the year. Now we're going to focus on the fantasy football spotlight. The player that's in the fantasy football spotlight this week is someone that's being overlooked this year, but for the life of me, when you look at his production, I don't understand why. Houston, Texas, Brandon Cooks, Fantasy Football Pros has him with an ADP of 53 and being the 20th wide receiver drafted. That means he's getting drafted in the 4th round. Cooks was 6th in target share in the NFL last season with 28% and was 5th in the league in terms of air yards percentage, 40%. He also led the Texans with a 21% target share in the red zone and also finished top 24 in wide receiver scores 9 of the 16 weeks he played. In the Pep Hamilton offense, wide receiver ones averaged 230.3 fantasy points for the season, which comes out to 15 points per game. Based on those numbers, I project Cooks to finish as wide receiver 12. And with someone who's finishing that high that I'm getting in the 4th round, that's what I'm all about in terms of drafting a fantasy football player. That's why Brandon Cooks is in this week's fantasy football spotlight as someone I am looking to target. Now, we're going to dive into the NFC East, and making his debut on the Etoft21sports show, Jarmel, a.k.a. at JLewis06 on Twitter, the host of the JNM Let's Talk Sports podcast. How you doing today, my man?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Dude, I am doing absolutely great. The NFC East is always a fun division to dive into just because, you know what? It's the NFC East that all these teams always finish 500. So it's always
exactly
fun. It is a great, absolute great division, offers a lot of betting opportunities. What we're going to do is we're just going to talk about the teams for those watching. We're going to talk about the future prices, people like what we're seeing with them. The first team we're going to jump into the New York Giants. Their future prices are being scrolled across the bottom of the screen. All these prices are via FanDuel. They finished last season at 4-13. Their Super Bowl record was, to win the Super Bowl, they're 80-1. To win the NFC, they're 44-1. To win the NFC East, they're 7-1. Their over-under is 7.5. What do you think about the Giants this year?
Man, I think the Giants. If I had to play the season win total, I'd play the under. I have them going 7-10 this year, which is better than last year. I just don't think they have the offensive weapons to be able to put together and sustain drives, specifically in that receiving core, man.
Yeah, the wide receiving core is a little bit brutal. I mean, Kenny Galladay should be writing thank you notes to Matt Stafford like every single week because he's not getting that money if it wasn't for Stafford. I mean, you look at like he got that big free agent signing from the because he with the production he did with the Lions, and now he goes to the Giants. He's putting up nothing. How do you feel about the addition of Brian DeBull to the offense? Namely, what do you think it will do for Daniel Jones's development?
I think without those receivers, man, I mean, Brian DeBoer is good offensive coordinator. I think, in my opinion, Josh Allen, great quarterback, but the reason that worked so well is Stephon Diggs. I mean, they don't have a Stephon Diggs with the Giants and in that offense, you know what I mean? So they don't have 1,000-yard receiver. This man put up over 2,200. Roughly 2,700 yards in 2 seasons with the Bills. Like they don't have that type of player at the Giants to be able to help. They have beefed up their offensive line, drafting Evan Neal, which is great. But he can have all day if he doesn't have anybody that can get separation that he can actually throw it to.
Yeah. You mentioned Evan Neal. He was one of their draft picks. The Giants are getting a lot of credit for their draft. They picked 2 guys that at different parts during the college football season were projected as the number 1 pick overall. How did you feel about their draft?
I think they had a really good draft, but I'm going to shy away. Like those first 2 picks were great. I think one of their best picks was actually Wandel Robinson out of Kentucky. He's really, really electrifying, and they grabbed him in the 2nd round, which would help that receiving core, help them out in the long run. You know, for his senior season, he had 104 catches over 1,300 yards, playing at Kentucky who had a QB carousel. I mean,
yeah. My notes on the Giants are this. What I think they're going to do with Daniel Jones, looking back at the what they did with what the Bull did with Josh Allen, they're going to line him up in the shotgun more, use a lot more RPOs to kind of free the defense. And then what they did with Allen is they had the wide receivers run basically goes, and they just had everyone on the inside doing crosses and slots, crosses, slot routes, curl routes, hitch and goes. And they're going to give Jones 1 to 2 reads. If it's not there, I think they're just going to tell him to run. I think they're going to insanely just kind of like dumb down everything and just not make him outthink the room. You know what I mean? Because he is kind of fleet-footed. We saw the second half of the year. Historically, the Bull, when he's been calling plays, they don't run the ball. We saw the last 6 games of the season, the Bills started to go to a little bit more of the rushing attack. He's got the weapon of Saquon Barkley back there. You mentioned the offensive line. I thought Andrew Thomas was great last year at the second half. They bring in Neal. They have the 2 bookend tackles. This is going to fit great, I feel, for the outside zone running scheme that they're going to look to use. I really like that. They brought in Martindale, who was the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. The thing Martindale does, and I really find this interesting, is he likes to create pressure, but he literally gives everybody on the defense freedom to audible a play, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And I look at it like this. If you're giving young players the ability to audible into a blitz, like with a veteran team, I get it. I think it works. But with a young team, I would be a little bit worried about these players just going off script. What do you think about that?
That is, I agree. That's a good word to have. But I also feel like he may put, I guess I don't want to say certain parameters in place, but like he's not going to give, let's say, Kayvon Thibodeau the same free will as he's going to give this 3rd or 4th-year player.
Yeah.
And it may take them some time to kind of gel. But later on in the season, it may start to work out for him. But early on, they're gonna have a rough go.
I think that I felt last year the main thing that they were missing was like a pass rusher to disrupt the quarterback. I think if Martindale is able to come in there and create some sort of pressure, I think this is going to help the defense a lot, because we've seen like when quarterbacks are able to sit back and read everything, they do okay. But when you force them to go through their progressions, that's when they struggle. And with the talent they have, they should be able to be a good defensive unit. I went through, you mentioned their record. I just have some situational spots. I'm a big guy. I like to circle situational spots and kind of get ahead of the betting curve. Week 2, they're playing the Panthers. I'm calling it the Mayfield Bowl in week 1 when the Panthers play the Browns, Baker Mayfield's revenge game. If the Panthers are able to win that, I think week 2 is a good spot to bet the Giants. Week 6, they're playing the Ravens. Now listen to this sandwich spot. This is probably the best sandwich spot in the world. Okay, so Deshaun Watson is coming back week 7, right?
Yep.
They have the Browns on week 7. Week 5, the Ravens are playing the Bengals. The Bengals completely humiliate them twice last year. You know what I mean? So that's just I feel like a great situational spot. We're going to be getting points on the Giants right there. Absolutely love that spot. Week 13, they're playing the Commanders off extended rest. Also, this is the Commanders' 3rd road game in 4 weeks. A great flat spot. Week 15, Commanders are coming off a bye. Week 16, now don't get me wrong, I'm insanely down on the Minnesota Vikings this year, but it's their 3rd road game in 4 weeks at Minnesota. I'll probably look to play Minnesota there. Week 17, they're playing the Colts, who are coming off of Monday Night Football on the West Coast, who have to travel all the way east. I just think that is a great spot. We got a question here. Can Saquon Barkley be able to provide a stable running game for the Giants to free up their wide receivers?
Can Saquon Barkley stay healthy?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big
thing. If Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, the answer to that question is yes. But do we trust Saquon Barkley to stay healthy?
Well, anyone that knows me knows I have Mondo trust issues, so I'm going to say no. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm going to say no. But it's hard, though, because you look at it, and he came into the league with such great promise, and then you start to feel bad for the guy because he's had 2 huge leg injuries.
Yes.
So at what point, if you're the Giants GM, do you move off of him?
Do you? I mean, because when he's healthy, he's arguably one of, if not the best back in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that's one of those situations where he's still young. So,
I mean, he's 25. He's 25 years old. Okay, and he is an unrestricted free agent after this season. Are you going to re-sign him?
I don't think I do.
You know, I don't think you do either. I think because he's going to demand a lot of money.
Yeah, he's going to want a lot of money, and I mean, he's going. Nah, I don't bring him back. Because honestly, Wandel Robinson can run the ball here and there. He has shown flashes of being able to run the ball when he was at Kentucky.
Yep. I agree 100%. I do not think you pay him at all. And my boy Bobby agrees. Don't pay RBs. I'm on that thing too. I don't pay RBs. I draft my RBs. So now we're going to switch over to a real interesting team. The Washington Commanders. Oh, real quick. I'm sorry. I had the Giants at 7-10 as well. No futures for me. You had them 7-10 as well. Now we're going to switch over to the Washington Commanders. Commanders 7-11 last year. Super Bowl, they're 70-1 to win the NFC. They're 31-1. NFC East 5-1. Over under 8.5. Tell me what you think about the Commanders. Being a Commanders fan.
Man, being a Commanders fan, I think I take the under their win total, so I think they go 8-9 this year. It's gonna be interesting to see what Carson Wentz can do. I grew up rooting against Carson Wentz so much. Now he's a quarterback. It's like why do the Commanders take the Eagles quarterbacks? Like, they beat us. Now you want the quarterback? You did the same thing with Donovan McNabb. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Um.
So let me ask you this. Like, okay, so you're in an interesting spot. There's two ways you can look at this: as a gambler and as a fan. As a gambler, what do you expect from Wentz this season? As a fan, what do you expect from Wentz this season?
As a gambler, I expect Wentz to be able to put up decent numbers. The drafting of Jahan Dotson, I'm pretty excited about. The kid can really fly. He can catch. We also got Curtis Samuel, who should be coming back from injury here shortly, and we paid Terry McLaurin a lot of money, so he has to show up. Like, he doesn't have a choice. He has to give us 1,000 yards, if not more, this season. As a fan, so I expect Carson Wentz to have a decent season. I think he'll get at least.
Do you miss the football team name?
I don't. Not at all. I wish they had to pick something other than Commanders, though. But
so what about their defense? Their defense came in much hype last year. I did kind of a deep dive into it. What do you think what do you expect from them this season?
I really expect them to be better in the passing defensive side of things. They were ranked 29th last year. But with the signing of DeJohn Neal and Channing Scribbling, both from the USFL, I think those guys, they've been playing the game, so like there's no rust or anything like that coming. We'll see how long they'll actually longevity, how long they'll last in the season, just playing like 10 to 12 week season. But I do think those signings are good. Chase Young's coming back. They drafted Mathis, a defensive lineman out of Alabama. He's used to playing with Alabama players. It seems like that's where their whole D-line is from. I expect them to get better on defense, and if the offense can sustain drives, that'll help the defense out a lot.
Now, I did a deep dive into that, and I came up with three things why they struggled last year. Number one, Landon Collins, they were trying to play in this hybrid linebacker safety position, and he just looked lost. He's not with the team anymore. I think, they're going to be able to address that, get someone in that role that's going to be able to be better fitted. Number two, Chase Young went down with an ACL injury. We talked about it with the Giants. You need to have that pass rusher that can get to the quarterback to disrupt everything. I truthfully feel Chase Young coming back, it's going to help the defense because he's going to be able to make the quarterback uncomfortable. Now, the last thing, and I found this stat absolutely amazing. They signed William Jackson last year, who is a phenomenal man-to-man coverage cornerback, but they're playing zone. After week 8, so the last 9 games, they switched to man-to-man defense, putting Jackson in what he's familiar with.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? After they switched to man-to-man, they did not give up more than 226 yards passing in a game. I think what they're going to do this year is they're obviously going to stick to the man-to-man defense. They get Chase Young back. I think we're going to see the Commanders' defense this year that everyone expected last year.
Yeah.
Because I think they kind of figured it out. Hey, you know what? We have to play man-to-man for our personnel. And I think Del Rio and Rivera figured that out the second half of the season. You mentioned, we're talking about Carson Wentz. I think Wentz is a solid fit for the offense. Turner likes to run the RPO and play action. Looking at it, Wentz was 4th in the NFL last year in terms of play action passing yards, and he ran the 7th most RPOs with the Colts. So the stuff that he likes to do, Turner likes to do. But I did find one future, and this future, the like, you remember that old song by Christina Aguilera, Dirty?
Yeah.
Like, this is my dirty future. This is just a dirty bone future. It is Antonio Gibson under 849.5 yards. Now, here's my thought process. Okay. Number one, offensive line isn't as good. You lost Eric Flowers, you lost Brandon Cernoff. You're replacing them with Trey Turner. I no hate on Trey Turner, but I think he's one of the worst offensive linemen in the league. Right there, the offensive line is going to take a step backwards. Number two, last year, Antonio Gibson, when only battling J.D. McKessick for carries, only had a 57% run carry share. So he's getting the carries 57% of the time. You drafted Brian Robinson, the big guy from Alabama.
Yep.
Coming in, you're not going to use a third round pick on a guy like that if you don't intend to use him. I think he's a better fit for the inside zone running scheme that Turner likes. So I expect at the second half of the season, we're going to see Robinson be the RB1. And the last thing, you mentioned Curtis Samuel. We tend to forget that everyone thinks it was Shanahan and Debo who did the stuff in the backfield. No, it was Turner and Curtis Samuel back in the Carolina days that were getting the wide receiver in the backfield, giving him in space there. So now you got Robinson and Samuel cutting into carries. I think Gibson's going to get weeded out here of this offense. I know they were upset with his fumbling. I love the under 849.5 yards rushing. What do you think of that wager?
Yeah, I do. Because I do see them playing him more in the screen game and more special teams with Antonio Gibson. Now that they drafted Brian Robinson, I do feel like Brian Robinson is probably going to be a third down back more so to start out the season, just to get him in the fold, get him accustomed to NFL speed and all of those things. Although he did play at Alabama, not too much of a difference.
Now, here's a question. Will Wentz be a better fit for Terry McLaurin as far as receiving yards on a betting standpoint? I don't. So the thing with Wentz is a better deep ball passer than people realize. He had the sixth best completion on balls over 20 yards. So on the deep balls, he's going to be able to get it to you. I would actually like the McLaurin over receiving yards bet than I would any player props bets in terms of the Commanders. What say you?
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll work out better for Terry McLaurin just because he's a more experienced quarterback than they had. I mean, no shade to Tyler Heineke at all. I love the kid, but he really doesn't have the same football experience that Carson Wentz has, and be able to see the field more.
Now, I looked in terms of their schedule, and you're going to find a trend when I'm reading all this stuff in the schedule. Week 3, they play the Eagles, who are on short rest. That meaning a Thursday, they're coming. You know what I mean? They're coming off a Thursday. Yeah. Week 4, Cowboys off a short rest. Week 5, they're playing the Titans after they play the Colts. Week 6, they go here to Chicago on a Thursday night, so they're on short rest playing the Bears. Week 7, I think this is a hammer spot for your boys. They have extended rest. Okay. They're playing the Packers, and the Packers have the Bills on deck. I think that's a great situational spot, to play the Commanders week 7. Listen to these, though. Week 10, they play at the Eagles, who on Monday Night Football, who are coming off an 11-day rest. Week 11, they're at the Texans on a short week, third road game in 4 weeks. Brutal spot. Week 13, at the Giants, who again coming off an 11-day, 11 games rest. Week 16, playing the 49ers, who are coming off 10-day rest. Week 18, playing the Cowboys, who are coming off 10-day rest. I mean, that's 4 times they play a team that is basically on a getting a mini bye. And then you play the Texans on the road, third road game in 4 weeks. The scheduling gods did your boys absolutely zero.
No favor.
And I'm sorry, man. We just started working together. I hope this doesn't ruin our new friendship. I have them at 6-11.
I mean, I don't know if the ball bounces our way. I still think they go 8-9, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, man. The scheduling is brutal. They caught a brutal schedule this year.
Now, Reed asked a question. Do you feel with playing the Eagles and the Cowboys, getting them on short rest, do you feel taking a future price at this plus 550? Because if you have them at 8 wins, I feel 9 wins the division. I mean, that could, if they go 2-0, that price is going to drop. Do you feel Reed should lock that in now, or should kind of wait?
I'd wait it out. Honestly, with this team, they could start out 2-0. They could start out 0-2 and not score but 7 points throughout those 2 games, man. You never know. I don't bet on the Commanders because that's my team. I'm not going to do it. I'm not betting on them. I'm not betting against them. I avoid that at all costs. But I'd wait it out. I wish
I could learn that as a Lions fan, dude. I wish I could learn that as a Lions fan.
No, I will not, man.
Next team we're gonna go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year they were 9-8. To win the Super Bowl, they are 30-1. NFC 14-1. To win the NFC East plus 185. Over under of 9.5. What do you think of the Eagles this year?
It's weird. The city of Philadelphia is gonna love me. I'm pretty high on the Eagles. I actually have a futures bet on them to win the NFC East at plus 210.
I absolutely love the Eagles this year. I love the Eagles. I love them. Talk some more about the Eagles. Why do you like them so much?
Well, they got my favorite player, A.J. Brown. They traded for him in the draft, and I was a little bittersweet about it. He left the Titans. I live in Memphis, and he went on to Philadelphia. I think their offense is I think that was one of the missing. They needed another receiver on the other side of Devontae Smith to help out on that offense. And also, I really like Kenneth Gainwell, that the running back they have. I think he might take over RB1 position by the end of the season.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like Miles Sanders, he never gets any love. You know what I mean? Like he's always kind of there, but he never does anything. So I could really see that. I could see Gainwell kind of do his carries. You mentioned A.J. Brown. How do you feel he's going to fit into this offense?
I think you kind of have to double team one of the two. Like you can't put either him or Devontae Smith. You're going to have to put some help somewhere. And I think he just left one extremely heavy rushing offense in the Tennessee Titans and goes to an offense that I think is going to be able to open it up more. Just not even passing wise, but just be able to open up the playbook with Jalen Hurts' rushing ability. That may cause the DB to step up and be able to get more yards and be able to be more explosive. They have the pieces in Philadelphia.
Oh, they have this roster is loaded. Last season, during the first 5 games, the Eagles attempted 35 passes a game on average. They're 2-5. The last 11 games, they dropped that down to 25 passes a game, became a run-first team that allowed them to make the playoffs. Do you feel that this is going to be the same going into this year, or with the addition of A.J. Brown? What do we, you know what I mean? Like, is this rushing attack we saw going to continue?
I don't think it's going to start out that way. I do think they're going to try to pass the ball more now that they did add A.J. Brown and have more weapons. And Devontae Smith be able to get more reps in the offseason with Jalen Hurts. I think they really do trust Jalen Hurts to be able to throw the ball and get it there. They're adding weapons around them. So I think it's gonna start the same way it did last year. They're gonna start out trying to pass, and then eventually they're just gonna incorporate the run more.
Now, Reed brings up a good point. Brown is one, if not one of the best yard after catch guys. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have Devontae on the outside. He's just going to be running goes. You're going to have Brown underneath, and you're going to get these yard after the catch receptions from him. So I really like him. Do you feel that with Brown coming in, we're going to see Jalen Hurts take that next step as a wide receiver? No, excuse me, as a quarterback. Sorry.
I do think we see Jalen Hurts take this next step. I mean, this is only his second or third full year as a starting quarterback. I mean, really asking a lot of a guy that had limited weapons to start out with. Now you just keep adding more to this offense. It really beefs up their defense too by adding Jordan Davis in the middle. So they're building the team around their quarterback, and I think we do see him take these next steps and lead the Eagles to a division title.
Now, I'm going to say it. This is my thought process. I locked in the Eagles. I got them at 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. Here's my thought process. They have one of the best offensive lines in the game. They were third in run blocking last year, fifth in pass blocking. They drafted the center from Cincinnati, Cam Jargans, who can play the center position if Kelsey gets hurt or can play either interior guard position. So they have depth and they have a good young player that can come in and play right away. Now we mentioned Smith, Brown, and Dallas. They also have Dallas Goedert. So now you have three guys that you can rely on to catch the ball. Okay. So I really feel like I rewatched that game against Tampa Bay. Now, if I were to tell you that the Eagles ran for over 100 yards, they sacked Brady 5 times that game, you probably would have said, you know what, they would have won the game. Okay.
Exactly.
They were down by 7 in the third quarter. The Bucks punted. Jalen Reagor, who Eagles fans hate, muffed the punt, and the wheels just fell off. You know, this team is a lot closer than people realize. Now you look at their defense, okay? You look at their defense. Defensively, what they do, they're big up front. They got Jordan Davis, as you met. With this big defensive line, they lean on the offensive line. The Eagles gave up the 9th fewest yards rushing and gave up the 6th fewest yards per carry. So they're very stout against the run. Their issue was they couldn't create pressure. They couldn't get to the quarterback. They brought in Harrison Riddick, who's coming off double-digit sack seasons. He's going to be able to get to the quarterback, rush the quarterback through the progression, and now you bring in James Bradbury from the Giants, who I think is a very underrated DB, to pair him with big play Darius Slay. You got 2 good corners. This defense is a legit defense, and with how they're built, their stout offensive line and stout defensive line, this team, like, I'll use this analogy. I feel the Bills are built to win 13 games, but maybe not win a Super Bowl. I feel the Eagles are built to win 9 to 10 games.
Yeah.
They're built to win a Super Bowl with how good they are in the trenches. So
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Because, like, I'm old school. I feel defense is won in the trenches, and they have those big boys that are going to lean on and win that battle. If Hurts is just comparable, I think they got a chance here. The Eagles fan in the family, my 6-year-old son is fading a squad on the season total. Talk this kid into not being pessimistic. That is from Dan. Yeah, I mean, I have them winning 9 games. I have them right there because there are some tough situational spots they have to play. We'll go through that in a second. And you hit the nail on the head. I think it's going to take the offense a little time to get going, implementing A.J. Brown and kind of everything out. Because you mentioned Devontae Smith. There's only one. We can all agree there's only one football, correct?
Yep. There's only one.
Had a 22% target share. Dallas Goedert was 5th in the NFL in tight ends and target share. They have 38 abandoned targets. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Where is A.J. Brown's 8 targets a game going to come from? It's going to be cutting into those guys. So I feel like it's just going to take a little bit of time to kind of sort everything out. If that, you know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna take time to sort it out, but I feel like once they do sort it out, and once that offense gets rolling, and
Now,
Jalen Hurts gets confident,
yeah. Now,
that's key.
Reed asks an excellent question. Do you trust Jalen Hurts to win a Super Bowl? I'll let you answer that one first, and then I will give you my 2 cents.
I feel like they've done enough on defense to where we don't have to trust Jalen Hurts to win a Super Bowl. We have to trust him just to not lose one.
I agree 100%. It's kind of like when Trent Dilfer won one for the Ravens. You know what? Run the ball, just make short to intermediate passes, don't turn it over, and we're there. And if Hurts can do that, and plus, like, you factor in his running ability, that's another element Dilfer didn't have. I think this Eagles team is being really underlooked. I love them at 30-1.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, I got them at 11-6, but I have them getting over 10 wins.
Yeah. So you would lean to the over then of 9.5.
Yeah, I'd lean over.
Just some situational spots. Week 3, they're at the Commanders on short rest. Week 9, at the Texans on short rest. Week 10, they play the Commanders at home. Monday Night Football, that 11-game break we talked about. Week 11, Colts on short rest. Week 12, they play the Packers, who are on extended rest. Week 13, great situational spot. Titans the week before play the Bengals. They're going to look to get their revenge from that playoff loss. Week 15, they play the Bears, who are coming off a bye. I'm kind of low at the Bears, but when you play a team coming off a bye that late in the season, that's kind of tough. Week 16, they play at Dallas, and that is their 3rd road game in a row. Kind of like a brutal stretch, so I'll probably look to play the Cowboys there. But like I said, like how this team is built in the trenches, this is not a team you want to play in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like this team is built to win a 15-round heavyweight fight. They may start out slow, but in those later rounds, those are some big boys in the trenches that are going to be able to win.
Just going to wear you down.
Lastly, let's go. I'm just thinking of Jimmy Johnson saying, "How about them Cowboys right now?"
Man, I had somebody say that to me leaving the gas station earlier today.
Cowboys 12-5 last year, 18-1 to win the Super Bowl, plus 850 to win the NFC, plus 125 to win the NFC East, over under 10.5. I know you don't like them boys. Tell me what you think about them.
No. We're going under. I'm playing down under. I had them at 5-12, man.
Ooh.
I don't.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was not. No, but also, like, I'm a fan of Dak. We both went to Mississippi State at the same time. Like, I seen him play live in college. I love my guy Dak, but I also played his under 4,400 passing yards.
Okay, what's your thought process with that bet?
The receivers, man, they just lost James Washington today. Michael Gallup is still hurt. You got CeeDee Lamb, but who else do you have? You got James Tolbert, that the 2nd round pick at wide receiver, is going to have to start. Mm-hmm. Who is that going to be able to throw the ball
to? Dalton Schultz. I mean,
yeah.
Like that's a good point. It's kind of, you know what I mean? They just don't really have those weapons. I'm not a big CeeDee Lamb guy. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. Defense, I think it's due for regression. Diggs gave up 1,000 yards receiving, but he had 11 INTs. Was kind of like a Band-Aid for what was going on with the defense. And they lost Gregory. What do you think of this defensive unit?
I mean, yeah, they lost Gregory. They did draft Sam Williams out of Ole Miss, who put up pretty decent numbers, and they got Christian Sams from the USFL. But once you got a rookie and a guy that just played almost 12 weeks, how effective and efficient are they going to be on that defense? The only person I can think of that's going to be a ball on the defense is Micah Parsons. I mean, he's going to show up and show out every day. Like you said, Diggs got 11 interceptions, but he gave up over 1,000 yards. I don't see that as being much of a Band-Aid, honestly.
Now, is Mike McCarthy the guy?
I don't think anybody's the guy as long as Jerry Jones is the guy. Like, honestly, as long as Jerry Jones is the owner, I don't care what coach you bring in. They're not going to, I just don't think see an eye to
eye. My notes are this. Losing Randy Gregory will allow the offensive line to double team Micah Parsons, thus hurting the production of the defense. The Cowboys were able to generate the 4th most pressure last season. Without Gregory, I think that number dips. I think in the interior is really weak, and I think you can run on the interior when you play a team like the Cowboys. No, excuse me, like the Eagles, who are going to have that good rushing attack. I think that's going to be tough. Offensively, they were the highest scoring offense in the NFL last year. And just think about the history of the Cowboys, okay? They were the highest scoring Cowboys team ever. Absolutely ever. So they can only go down. So the stuff you're saying about Dak is 100% true because, you know what I mean? You can't go up anymore. On the offensive line, they lose Collins to the Bengals. That's going to hurt the offensive line. They lost Williams to the Dolphins. That's going to hurt it. They drafted this kid, Tyler Smith. My issue with Tyler Smith is this. He went to a small school and he gave up an absorbent amount of penalties. If you're giving up that many penalties at a smaller school, you're going to do the same thing in the big leagues. You know, that's a big worry. Also, are Martin and Tyron Smith, are they going to be able to stay healthy? Because those guys have an illustrious injury history. So that's a big worry. You know, looking at their schedule, you know, just some situational spots. The Rams on a short week, on week 5, coming off playing the 49ers. I think the Cowboys are going to be live there. Week 7, the Lions are on extended rest. Now, here's a little tidbit about my Lions. There is one team in the NFL that doesn't play a team that has a longer rest period than them, and that's the Detroit Lions. Lions, all my years as a Lions fan, we've never got the benefit of the scheduling gods, but this year we did, which was great. Week 12, playing the Giants on short rest. Week 13, playing the Colts on extended rest. Colts coming off a Monday Night Football game. Week 16, Eagles. That's the situation we just talked about. 3rd road game in a row. Week 17, at Tennessee, sandwich spot between Philly and Washington. If they're kind of like battling like these NFC teams do, that could be a great situational spot. So I have them at 10-7. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit too high, but I don't know. I have them at 10-7. Maybe, you know, I do have them losing to Houston though in week 14 because I love me the Houston Texans, man. I love me the Houston Texans, man. Jarmel, why don't you tell everyone what's going to be the plan for your podcast, which debuts in 2 days, what you're going to be covering, and where they can find that?
We're going to be covering mostly NFL content. Episode 1 is going to cover the Hall of Fame game and what we think about that. Different NFL news, season win totals, conference winners, division winners. And each week we're going to just talk about upcoming games and which spots we like the best, what plays we like the best. And it'll be on Spotify and Apple as well.
Awesome. But guys and girls, be sure to check that out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back here next week, same time, same channel, previewing the NFC West with Mr. Ice Cold himself, Dave Weaver. Until then, boys and girls.